Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of PTCGRadio. So today, we're looking at a rather fancy, lovely new item card. Now, our translation here comes from lovely Antoine Boulet, one of our very, very favourites here. And I have also seen a translation posted by the lovely Joe over at Cerebi.net. They happen to agree, and when those two lovely dudes agree, I think we're on to a winner. So, it's apparently called Cheering Y-Horn. That is the literal translation. Antoine is saying that it's probably going to end up being called Vuvuzela, because that is, of course, the incident on which it was based. Ruined the entire World Cup in South Africa, but I suppose that's a story for another day. It is a double Vuvuzela, but I'm calling it Cheering Y-Horn for now, but I think Antoine is onto something, put it that way. And it is an item card, and it reads, both active Pokemon are now confused. Simple as that. What it does is it confuses both active Pokemon, yours and your opponent's. Now, on the one hand, you could look at this and go, really? You're confusing your active Pokemon? And bearing in mind, right, you're playing this card on your turn. Do you really want to be playing it on your turn to confuse your Pokemon and then have to attack? And the answer is you're not going to. Like, you're definitely not going to, alright? It's just not happening. Because the reality is, what you're going to do is you're going to play this when you've got a Pokemon in the active who can get out the active. It might be a free retreating Pokemon, something like a Tapu Koko. Or it could be that you're using something like Air Balloon or U-turn board to retreat. Or it could be that you've got some kind of switching option that you're about to play. I don't know, maybe something like a switch if that doesn't sound too crazy. The point is, there is absolutely no way you are actually going to do this when you're about to attack. Because it's ridiculous and silly and would be a very, very bad idea. What you are going to do, however, is use this to confuse your opponent. And confusion, as far as I'm concerned, right, confusion is extremely underrated. I think confusion as a special condition, people just don't love it as much. I mean, I'll give you an example from the Dragon Gym Challenge we saw recently. That was the alternate format tournament I put together with Stefan Eriksson and Dragon Shield. And David Hockman was playing a Darkness deck that was based around Obstagoon. Well, it played a bunch of stuff, but one of the things it played was Obstagoon. And Obstagoon's got the attack Obstruct that stops your opponent's basic Pokemon damaging it. That's not good. Prevents damage, not other things. Now, the lovely Joe Bernard, him of Omnipoke, was playing a Hitmon deck. And it wasn't going terribly well for Joe. And then David went and got Obstagoon out. So what Joe did was he brought out the Oranguru, the one which we usually use for resource management, and he actually used a second attack. Free energy, 60 damage plus confusion. Not ideal. The thing is, if David flips Tails on confusion, Joe can KO Obstagoon. There was a Vitality Band in play, so Joe legit would have got the KO if David flips a single Tails. So all of a sudden, Joe has gone from, I cannot take down Obstagoon, I'm going to lose the game, to, if David attacks, there's a 50% chance I'm going to win this game. Now, if David was prepared for this, he had bench Pokemon, he retreated, etc. But I think it's quite illustrative here of how annoying confusion can be. If you want to attack, you have to flip a coin. If you flip Tails, it doesn't work. You take 30 damage and no attack happens. That's kind of hilarious. For you, not for your opponent. It's actually really annoying for your opponent. So what you do here is you basically take advantage of this to try and slow your opponent down. And the great thing here is it's just an item card. And we don't see this very often at all. Like, at all. We did back in the day. We saw Hypnotoxic Laser, which was sleep on a coin flip, automatic poison. Now we also had Burbank City Gym that added 2 poison counters between turns, or 2 damage counters from poison between turns. But in terms of just item cards here, we just don't see this. Now, we have a bunch of Pokemon tools. A little while ago, we had Poison Barb. If you attack the Pokemon with it and do damage, you get poisoned. We've currently got Burning Scarf that will burn you if you attack into it. And we've currently got Ear-Ringing Bell, which will confuse you if you attack into it. Similarly, we're not terribly scared of using supporters to do this. So something like Koga's Trap, for instance, will actually do confusion and poison, and that is just when you play a supporter card. But item cards that cause special conditions are just something that we don't see. I mean, I've just had a quick search through item cards using the keywords of asleep, confused, paralyzed, poison, looking at special conditions. The only one I came across was Hypnotoxic Laser. We don't get item cards that put special conditions on. Or at least we didn't. We shouldn't. We never have. Well, we have, but not for a long time. Now we do, ladies and gentlemen. Now we actually do. And this is frankly ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I'm kind of in love with it. Because all of a sudden it opens up so many options. Like a ridiculous amount of options that you didn't have before. I mean, generally speaking here, right, it's just slowing down your opponent. This is an amazing emergency card. You need one more turn in order to win the game. Your opponent is going to win the game next turn. You've got to buy some time. It is an item card that confuses them. And look, maybe they can retreat or switch out of it. Maybe they can switch to a free retreater and then retreat. There's plenty of options, but I won't always have them. Imagine this. Imagine playing this and then dropping them down to a reset stamp of 1 when they're not in a position to retreat. Or they can retreat, but they've got no good Pokemon to retreat into that can attack. You play reset stamp, they shuffle a hand into their deck, they get a new hand of 1 card, and then you confuse them, or you confuse them before you do it. But they are confused at that stage, and they're not in a position to try and actually get around the confusion. That's what I'm talking about here. That's why this is so fantastic. This is going to hurt your opponent. There are going to be plenty of games where this wins. I know that Hypnotoxic Laser was played a lot of the time for poison, but if you were playing back then, and I was, if you were playing back then, you would have seen many games won and many games lost because of a sleep flip. And the thing with Hypnotoxic Laser is it was a 25% chance, because you had to flip heads on Hypnotoxic Laser to put them to sleep, but then it went to their turn and they had to flip heads in order to get out of sleep. So you needed the first flip to go your way and the second flip to go your way. You had to get a heads and they had to get a tails in order to get the sleep to stick. Now here it's not quite the same. There is a 50% chance, which is better, but they can work it around beforehand, which is worse. Your opponent never had the chance to retreat before the sleep flip, whereas here they can retreat before the confusion flip. But then again, we've got stuff like Galar Mine. And incidentally here, right, Galar Mine is a phenomenal combo with this. Galar Mine is a stadium that increases your opponent's and yours retreat cost by 2. Now, obviously this is going to be awkward getting yourself out of the active with confusion, but again, you should be prepared for this. Have a switching card or have something like Air Balloon, which reduces your retreat cost by 2, etc., etc. The point is, this increases their retreat cost. And another card that will survive the rotation is the Absol from Team Up, which will increase your opponent's retreat cost by 1. So all of a sudden, you can make their retreat cost huge. You can confuse them. You can potentially reset stamp them. And you can almost force them into a situation where they have to flip for confusion. Because they don't have the cards to switch. They cannot afford to retreat. And so they have to flip. And maybe they flip heads and it's fine, but nobody wants to take the confusion flip. Play a few games of Pokemon. You will see that your opponent, the vast majority of the time, will do basically anything they can to try and avoid a confusion flip. And that's where you come in. I think this is a phenomenal card. I genuinely think this is a 5 Wassy card. And I might be proven wrong on this, and I'm sure there are a bunch of people that are already going, Wassy, I know you're in a good mood today. You're clearly having a wonderful day. I am, incidentally. I'm having a lovely day. So, you're just being too high on this card. You gave Blaziken 4 Wassies. All fair. But the fact of the matter is, special conditions are big. And this is an item card special condition, the likes of which we just don't see. And yeah, it's a two-sided card that confuses you as well, but I don't care. When I can build my deck and decide when the confusion happens, i.e. I've got a bunch of different options to mitigate the damage done to myself by confusion, I just don't care. I adore this card. I absolutely adore it. And I think there are going to be a lot more confusion flips over the next couple years than we've seen over the previous few years. You have been warned. But I'd like to know what you think. Am I too high on this card? Is confusion overrated? Are there some item cards that inflict status conditions that I forgot to mention? Go nuts in the comment section, but please remember the rule. Be nice, would you? And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darned awesome nonetheless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.